thank you all so much for being here. My name's Adrienne Pedrati Bingaman. I have my notes here just because I can't remember all the things I need to say. Thank you for coming. This is Austin Cantorum, and I'm so privileged to be the artistic director of this amazing group, and I hope that you enjoy this evening. We are so excited to present Bedtime Stories, which is a collaboration with local storytelling organization Testify, who we have some wonderful storytellers here. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements, and then we're going to hear from Mark from Testify for a little bit. Just a reminder to silence your cell phones or any noise-making devices. You should have received a program on your way in, and in that program you'll find a QR code that will take you to our website. And if you're interested in any of the pieces that you hear tonight, there's more information on that website. It's also listed at austincantorum.com/program. You'll also see a list of all of our wonderful donors, and who through their support is how we're able to do this. If you yourself want to be thanked in such a way, we would so appreciate any donations that you're able to give, so that we can keep bringing you these wonderful choral concerts. You can also sign up for our mailing list on the website and follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Austin Cantorum. We have a concert coming up. We haven't done any of the planning, but we have a date. It's on December the 21st. I think it's going to be right here in this very room because we love being here so much. We want to thank First English Lutheran Church for hosting us for our rehearsals and performances. This is one of the best acoustics in Austin, and we're just so happy to be here. So thank you to First English and Brian Rust especially, and all the team at First English. You probably saw a table from the Women's Storybook Project in the back. We're so thrilled to be able to support this amazing organization with our book drive that we had today. They do incredible work through a prison program where they connect incarcerated mothers with their children through recordings of storybooks, and we felt like it was very, very pertinent to what we're doing here tonight, making, realizing how important these are to our lives. If you didn't get a chance to talk to them, please do go and check them out. Go and visit them at their table. Pam and Tim, I think his name is Tom. He'll tell you what his name is. Just a reminder that there are some PG moments in tonight's concert, if you have any concerns about that, but we hope that you really, really enjoy it. And I'm very excited to welcome Mark Gifford from Testify up to talk a little bit more about Testify and the storytellers that you'll hear tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you, everybody. My name is Mark Gifford, and I'm one of the producers with Testify. And Testify is the longest continuously running storytelling show here in Austin. And we're a curated show, which is kind of special. Most storytelling shows have people sign up and they tell their stories. But at Testify, we have our storytellers submit stories. Our producers work with them throughout our production process so that when they get on stage and when they're in front of you, they're telling the strongest version of their story that they possibly can tell. If you would like to see more of Testify, we perform monthly at the Alamo Drafthouse in Miller in the Barrel of Fun, the first Thursday of every month. We have story slams throughout the year, and we've also started teaching storytelling classes, so if you're ever interested in learning to do what we do, we would love to have you. You can find all that information at testifyatx.com, on our Facebook page, and we do have a YouTube channel. At Testify, we think that the act of storytelling is a really special and almost sacred thing. The interesting thing about storytelling is that, as far as we know, we're the only species that participates in it. And for as long as we've had recorded history, we've been telling stories, and perhaps longer than that. The first stories probably had to do with survival. Stories about why we shouldn't eat that thing, why we shouldn't go to that place. Stories to explain our natural world. And as time went on, we kept telling stories, but what defined survival started to change. We no longer needed to tell stories about why we shouldn't eat something or to explain our natural world. We started to tell stories to understand the human condition and each other just a little bit better. And at Testify, we believe firmly that the act of storytelling, when one person tells you something intimate and personal about their lives, it makes the world both a bigger and smaller place. Bigger because we get to experience things that we might not be able to experience in our everyday lives. Smaller because despite all the external differences we may have, we start to understand that deep down, we're all very much the same. We all want to be seen, we all want to be loved, and we all want to be part of a community. So hopefully tonight, the stories that we've curated do that for you. We've got 4 storytellers tonight and 4 stories for you. Our first is going to be Lita Mosier. She's going to tell you her story, Out of the Forest. I'm going to tell you my story, The Tooth Pillow. Then Gloria Rabel, one of the other Testify producers, is going to tell her story, Bait and Switch. And then the last storyteller is Richard Versteeg. He's going to tell his story, A Boy, a Bear, and a Dog. If you'd like to know more about our storytellers, please take a look at your program. And finally, to wrap up, I want to give a thanks to everybody at Austin Cantorum, from both myself, the rest of the Testify team, and our creative director, Lottie Loerda. Working with this group has been absolutely amazing. And without further ado, sit back and relax and enjoy an evening of Bedtime Stories.
out of the forest. Okay. I am 6 years old and putting all of my anger from the day into brushing my teeth too hard. Everything that was important to me today got taken away. At school and show and tell, I wasn't allowed to show because of the color of my eyes. We're studying racism, and this is all about living learning. What a stupid reason to be rejected. And then, on the car ride home, even though it was totally my turn to be in the front seat, my loudmouth big brother got his way again, and he got it. And my mom was having one of her, "You will be quiet so I can listen to this radio program," spats. And so I didn't even get to complain to her about my rotten day. She was part of the problem too. Tonight, I'm gonna not sleep. I'm just gonna think about revenge for all of the people that have done me wrong today. So as I spit out the rest of the toothpaste and I stomp back to my room, and I want to feel big and important, and with each step, I imagine I'm crushing someone that has left me out today. I don't want to, at least in my imagination, I don't have to feel overlooked. I get nestled into my bed and wait for my mom to tuck me in. And even though I just want her to go away, I want to be alone with my anger and my teddy bear and my thoughts, she comes in, tucks me in, and mummifies me in the sea of blankets, and she starts telling me a made-up bedtime story. In a forest, there are two best friends, Hopsy, a small rabbit, and Lightfoot, a small deer. Together, they have such adventures, galloping in the forest and having fun at every turn. After telling their parents where they're going, they are off for the day, a day of adventure. On this day, Hopsy and Lightfoot are en route to their play meadow as a grackle flies by. The grackle calls down, "Hey, Hopsy, you want to go play?" Hopsy responds, "Hello, Grackle, good to see you up there. Lightfoot and I are going to the play meadow. You want to come?" And the grackle caws. "Oh no, Lightfoot, four-legged Lightfoot. No, I don't want to play with her at all," and flies away, withdrawing the invitation. I turn in my bed and think, "Grackle, how rude. Can't you see that Hopsy and Lightfoot are together?" Well, Hopsy and Lightfoot continue on their path, and they go down a little ravine by a creek. And at the creek, a squirrel pops up and says, "Hello, Lightfoot, good to see you. Want to go play?" And Lightfoot says, "Hello, squirrel, it's nice to see you too. I'm with Hopsy and we're on our way to play. Perhaps you could join us. Maybe a game of hide and seek." And squirrel says, Oh no, not Hopsy. With her white tail, she would be seen. I don't want to play with her." And Lightfoot says, "Well, if Hopsy's not invited, I don't want to play." And squirrel goes back to burrowing its acorns. Hopsy and Lightfoot can't understand why, and I think in my bed, "Squirrel, you too? This is just like my rotten day, just being overlooked at every turn." Hopsy and Lightfoot continue on their journey, and they can't understand why their friends seem to have selective vision today, seeing one but not the other. They meander through a forest and come across an old wise tree, and they decide to ask it if it knows why this is happening. "Oh, yes," says the tree. "It's so they can feel superior. If one is small, another can feel big." Light bulbs go off over Hopsy and Lightfoot's head, accepting this sad but very real truth. And they continue on their way, whispering about what they're going to do with this information and how they're going to heal it. I turn in my bed once again, thinking, this is just like my day. It's not fun to feel small at every turn. I pull my teddy bear closer to me. And while my eyes are getting heavy, I still want to keep them open for a little bit longer. The next day, the forest is all abuzz, and there's a big celebration. Everyone's invited, and everyone comes. Hopsy and Lightfoot are the masters of ceremony at this celebration, and one by one, they offer an award to each and every critter of the forest. Grackle gets the detective award, Squirrel gets the collecting award, Frog gets the jumping award, and all of them get the spotlight to recognize their unique talents and skills that they contribute, not just to themselves, but to the community as a whole. At the end of the award ceremony, everyone feels really proud of themselves and their friends. The rest of the day is a big day of play. There's laughter and joy everywhere, and there are no dividing lines. There's fur and feathers playing together, and shell and stink, and big and small. And any fractures of trust or misgivings that had creeped up in the forest are mended through this play. Hopsy and Lightfoot share a knowing glance at each other, knowing that they have helped bring peace and harmony and inclusion to the forest once again. They realized that even though to get what they wanted, they just needed to give others what they wanted, some recognition and appreciation and time and space to be heard and seen for who they are. I feel so much better lying in bed. My anger from the day has shaken off, and my eyelids are really heavy. I know that I, too, am part of a larger community, and my mom, through this telling and tucking me in one more time and kissing me before going to sleep, does see and understand me. And as I fall, my eyelids get very heavy and I fall off to sleep, I imagine all of the creatures of the forest playing. And in my dreams, I get to enjoy in the fun with them.
The tooth pillow. I'm 8, and I'm about to start losing my baby teeth. And this is a very exciting time for me. My mom even bought me an illustrated book to show me what losing my teeth would be like so I wouldn't get scared. The book tells me that one by one, my baby teeth will start getting loose, and some of them might need help, but eventually, one by one, they'll all fall out, and I'll be left with my adult teeth. I'm excited about this entire process, but I'm even more excited about the tooth fairy. Mom explains to me that the tooth fairy collects teeth, and that when he takes teeth, he leaves kids a present. And Mom says most kids will put their teeth under their pillow at night, but Mom doesn't think we should do that. Mom's concerned that the tooth fairy might not come if I'm awake, and he may not leave me a present if it will wake me up. So Mom shows me a little pillow that she has sewed just for me. It's small and lacy, and on the front she has hand-stitched the picture of a silly scarecrow who's wearing coveralls, and on the front of his coveralls is a big pocket that says tooth. Mom says that's where we'll put my tooth at night. So I lose my first tooth, I put it in the tooth pocket, and I put the tooth pillow right next to me. And the next morning when I wake up, my tooth is gone. And in its place, a $5 bill. $5. I've lost several teeth at this point, and every time I do, I get another $5 bill. At this point, I'm kind of wishing I had more teeth. I also wish that my teeth would fall out faster, because $5 equals 20 tokens at the arcade in Waco, and I can play Galaga for a long time on 20 tokens. I start thinking about this tooth fairy fella. He gives me $5 for little tiny baby teeth. I wonder how much he would give me if I had bigger teeth. We live on a really small dairy farm on a big piece of land. And it's just me and Mom and Dad and one other worker, so I'm expected to go with Mom and Dad when they do afternoon chores. And one afternoon, as Mom and Dad are feeding the baby calves, I tell them I'm gonna go for a long walk. Cows don't die very often on the dairy farm, but sometimes they do. And it's sad. And we have a little graveyard for them at the back of the property. It's a long walk through the open fields, but it's a nice day, and I've been there a lot. When I get to the cow graveyard, I get on my hands and knees, and I start digging into the sandy soil with my bare hands. And before long, I find myself a gleaming white cow skull. I get out the pair of pliers, I swipe from the farm truck, and I start pulling teeth. And before I know it, I've filled up my pockets. I should have brought a bag, I think to myself. If my plan works out, I can always come back for more. Later that night, as I'm getting ready for bed, I asked Mom if she can get me the tooth pillow. I didn't know you lost another tooth. Oh, I didn't, I tell her. I'm gonna see how much the tooth fairy's gonna give me for this. and I show her one of my cow teeth. Is that a dead cow tooth? Yeah, and I got a bunch of them. And I show her all the teeth. My mom looks at me and she says, "It's me." I put the money in there. Do not start stuffing dead cow teeth into that pillow that I hand sewed for you. I can't believe it. My mom lied to me. I cry for a long time, and Mom holds me the entire time, whispering she's sorry. I think she cries a little too. When I start calming down, Mom explains that the reason she did it was because she wanted me to feel like losing my teeth was something really special. She says if I want, we can still put my teeth in the tooth pillow, and she promises when I wake up there will be a $5 bill waiting for me. But only for your teeth. And she tells me that several times. I calm down, and I tell her I think that'll work. The next time I lose a tooth, I put it in the tooth pocket, and I put the tooth pillow beside me, and I go to sleep. And when I wake up in the next morning, crisp $5 bill. I know it's Mom who put it in there. Maybe it doesn't matter so much. The story about the tooth fairy is really fun. And this little tooth pillow that my mom handmade just for me, I love it. Plus, I have enough money to play Galaga 20 more times. Thank you.
Bait and switch. My 4-year-old son, Elliot, and I were asked to participate in a study at the UT Children's Research Lab. The researchers were looking at how parents influenced their children when it came to reading. They filmed me reading a book to Elliot. It was called What If Zebras Lost Their Stripes? And it goes on to say, and some were black and some were white. Would they survive? Would they get along? Would they be divided? I loved the theme of this book, and I told the researcher so. And that's when she told me that this study was not about how children are relating to their parents when it comes to reading, rather how parents relate race to their children. Quite the bait and switch. I was a little disoriented for a while, but it made sense given that they don't want you to coach your kids on how to answer those sort of questions. She asked me if Elliot and I were willing to stay. She wanted to do an activity with him and have me fill out a questionnaire. I agreed because being the adequate mother I thought I was, or the good mother I hoped I'd one day be, I was always looking for an opportunity to teach my kids how to be good people. For me, being a good mother meant listening to them, telling them how to be good to other people, and leaving things better than they found them. As far as I'm concerned, raising children is my contribution to the world. At this point, I'm pretty sure of myself because I know what a racist looks like. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. I know exactly what it looks like. She took me into a room where there was a window so that I could keep an eye on what her and Elliot were doing, and I answered questions, and proudly, because I'm a good liberal white woman. And I know how to be open-minded, because after all, I'm one of the good ones. She told me if I finished before they did, I could come in and observe. And on the table in front of them, they had 2 strips of paper. One of them had 3 faces, smiling, neutral, and frowning. The other had several faces with different skin tones. She told me what she was going to ask Elliot was a question about someone and point to the skin tone, and he would tell her how he felt about it by pointing to the smiling, neutral, or frowning face. After I sit down, she asks Elliot, "How would you feel about having a babysitter with darker skin?" It's time for my little angel to show her how good a mother I am. Frowning face. I can't react. Part of me getting to observe is not influencing his reactions at all. But I'm just glad I had an anxiety disorder because I'm really good at masking whatever's going on up here. Then she asked him, "Elliot, how would you feel about having a doctor with darker skin?" He's got this one because his doctor did have darker skin. Another frowning face. What? I'm sweating a lot. And I have a strong urge to grab my kid and run out of the lab. Next, she asks him how I would feel about those same 2 questions. Frowning face for darker skin babysitter, frowning face for darker skin doctor. He didn't think Mom would approve. She asked the last question, and I took a deep breath and smiled to appear okay. I was not okay. I wanted to look calm, or maybe just slightly less deranged than I felt in that moment. She thanked us for coming and then said some other things that I wasn't paying attention to because I was concerned about how I'm going to reform my 4-year-old racist son. I took Elliot to the car, put him in the car seat, strapped him in, and I sat in the front back to him because, again, I didn't want to influence his answers. "Elliot, you said that you didn't think I'd like you having a doctor with darker skin. Do you think that people with dark skin are bad in some way?" Without missing a beat, "Yes," he said. "Why?" He said, "Because black people steal. I'm no longer cool." I turn around and say, "What? Why in the world would you think that?" And here's why. One hot summer afternoon, we were walking out of Walgreens, my 2 boys and I noticed this couple had this cute little puppy, and they were feeding the puppy water directly from a water bottle. Now, Elliot loved dogs. This quiet, shy kid whispered everything to me at this age, but if we were in a car and he saw a dog on the side of the road, he'd roll down the window and shout, "I love you!" So of course I pointed the dog out. Look, he's drinking out of a water bottle. And the guy heard me, and he said, yeah, some black guy just tried to steal him. In my memory, it's this crisp Southern voice that I grew up with. I get in the car, get the boys settled, and I said, I'm not sure why he felt the need to mention the color of skin. I mean, if it had been a white guy, would he have said some white guy tried to steal my dog? But I don't think Elliot heard anything after we got in the car. I was startled when he told me that this was the reason he felt that way, because at that young an age, knowing someone else had more influence over my kid than I did was just sad and scary. And I've thought a lot about, over the years, how I can influence my children on the good side more than the world does on the bad side. I don't know if I've done a good job. It's completely out of my control now because they're adults and they teach me far more than I can teach them. That UT study was part of a bigger study, varying ages. And shortly after Elliot and I participated in it, there was an article in Newsweek about it. On the front cover was a white baby, and the title of the article was, "Is Your Baby a Racist?" The study found that if parents didn't teach their children to see color, it would leave a void for other people to teach them what to see. So I've thought a lot about what voids I've left, what things did I teach or not teach them. I don't know if it was ever enough to be a good mom, but I aspire at least to be an adequate one. Thank you.
There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything was in her eyes, was in her eyes. There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. So I never knew that my nose was too flat, and I never knew that my skin was too black, and I never knew that my clothes didn't fit, and I never knew there were things that I missed, and the beauty in everything was in her eyes. Oh, what's in her eyes? There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house, no mirrors in my nana's house. And I was intrigued by the cracks in the walls, the dust in the sun looked like snow that would fall. The noise in the hallway was music to
A boy, a bear, and a dog. When I was a little kid, I went through a phase where I'd ask my dad to read the same book night after night. It was called The Biggest Bear. That book reminds me of my dad. I can picture him reading it to me. The story is about a young boy who lives out in the country. His name is Johnny. One day, he decides to go bear hunting. But instead of killing a bear, he comes back cradling an orphan bear cub in his arms. Johnny loves that bear. Like I love my dog, a collie I named Ruff, because that's what he said when he barked. But the bear cub grew to be a very large bear with a voracious appetite. He started foraging for food in a neighbor's smokehouse, another neighbor's shed full of the season's maple syrup. The bear had to go. So Johnny took the bear on a long walk through the woods to the west until they reached a clearing full of wild raspberries that the bear could eat. Johnny gave the bear a hug, said goodbye, and made the long, lonely journey back home. But the bear came back, so Johnny took the bear on a long walk to the east and to the south. But the bear, he wouldn't stay away. At this point in the book, there is a sepia tone painting that shows the father standing behind Johnny, his hands on Johnny's shoulders. Johnny is standing, looking downcast, holding his rifle in both hands at his side, looking poised for action. The words on the facing page, Johnny and his father talked it over and decided there was only one thing to do. Johnny said he'd do it. The gut-wrenching horror that swept through me the moment I understood the meaning of the words that weren't on the page forever burned that image of Johnny and his father into my memory. Johnny took the bear north this time, but any hope I had of being wrong was stripped away as Johnny struggled to load a bullet into his bolt-action rifle. My dog, Ruff, was sick. He was in pain. So my parents took him to the vet, who said that Ruff was dying and that any time he had left would be full of suffering. So my parents had Ruff put to sleep. That's pretty much how they explained it to me afterwards, just the facts. I was heartbroken. I sobbed. And in the book, just as in real life, someone chose to end a life and a friendship. How could anyone do that? I didn't even get to say goodbye. I knew my parents loved me, and that had to be enough until I was old enough to understand that my parents had done the right thing for Ruff, and that sometimes doing the right thing is hard. I grew up, joined the Air Force, went out to see the world. I didn't see my parents very often. I wasn't good about calling. But when I did visit, I enjoyed spending time with my parents. I loved my dad's sense of humor, his point of view, his stories. Years have passed. I left the Air Force, got married. We're raising young children of our own. Today, I'm helping my mom with some spring cleaning when I find The Biggest Bear. It's the same hardback, discarded library book that my dad read to me. My mom never got rid of a book. I can still remember that sepia tone painting of Johnny and his father. I sit down and read the book. When I get to that page, I can remember that it felt hard listening to the story and remembering Ruff. But mostly what I remember now is my dad reading the book to me. I keep reading. As Johnny struggled to load his rifle, the bear caught scent of something, ran off, and got trapped by two men working for a zoo. The men told Johnny that the bear would get plenty to eat and that Johnny could visit him anytime he wanted at the zoo. So Johnny, once again, said goodbye to his friend. As I closed the book, I thought of something that I'd learned from The Biggest Bear and my dog, Ruff, about saying goodbye. It was time for a break from cleaning, so I took the book and went to visit my dad, who was living nearby in a memory care facility. My dad could respond to yes-no questions with a nod, a shake, or a puzzled expression. He didn't talk anymore. I sat down with him, showed him the book. Dad, do you remember reading The Biggest Bear to me when I was a little kid? He shook his head no. May I read it to you now? He nodded yes. So I read The Biggest Bear to my dad. I finished and asked, do you remember the story at all? He shook his head no. That day, before I left, I said goodbye, not knowing it would be the last time I'd see my dad before he died. I will always be grateful for the reminder from a boy, a bear, and a dog about the importance of saying goodbye. Dad, I know you don't remember reading The Biggest Bear to me when I was a little kid, and that's okay. I'll remember for both of us. I love you, Dad.
stone, pebble, sand, body, shoulders, arm, hand. A moat to dig, a shell to keep, all the world is wide and deep. Hive, bee, wings, hum, husk, cob, corn, yum. Tomato blossom, fruit so red, all the world's a garden bed. Tree, trunk, branch, crown, climbing up and sitting down. Morning sun becomes noon blue, all the world is old and new. Road, street, track, path, ship, boat, wooden raft, nest, bird, feather, fly, all the world has got its sky. Slip, trip, stumble, fall. Tip the bucket, spill it all. Better luck another day. All the world goes round this way. Table, bowl, cup, spoon. Hungry tummy, supper soon. Butter, flour, big black pot. All the world is cold and hot. Spreading shadows, setting sun, crickets, curtains, day is done. A fire takes away the chill, all the world can hold quite still. Nanas, papas, cousins, kin, piano, harp, and violin. Babies passed from neck to knee, all the world is you and me. Everything you hear, smell, see, all the world is everything. Everything is you and me. Hope and peace and love and trust, all the world is all of us.